Today we're going to give out a few training tips about how to increase your power to kicks at the same time having your partner holding a tap pads correctly. So check it out today. So before we begin today, we're going to talk about a few things that you're probably making a mistake on when it comes to holding the tap pads, okay? So I'm going to break down the step-by-step how you hold the tap pads. The first thing you're going to do is you should never put your thumb inside a pad. Because what I've seen across the board, especially on YouTube, there's a lot of so-called tap pad holders that put the thumbs inside. Now the downside of doing this is if he does kick or punch harder, and especially when the pad rotates like that, you might risk getting your thumb broken. So you always want to make sure your thumb goes on the top like this, okay? The second thing is, I also see a lot of people tighten this all the way down like that. And then the way I was taught by my Ajarn is you should never tap this tight into your forearm. The downside of doing this, even though it's nice and secure, if he does punch really hard, it's going to rotate my elbow. And especially when the pad is doing this with the rotation, this is going to cause you injury on the shoulder or elbow when the rotation goes too far and or too fast. So you always want to make sure this is loosened, right? Just like that. Now once you have loosened the straps, even if you punch hard, if I have the rotation, see, I just let go, right? When I let go, see, it doesn't hurt my shoulder or my elbow without rotation. So that's the first two things we have to keep in mind. Is that one, I don't want to strap on too tight. Second is my thumb always goes on top. The third thing is you should never feed a pad like this or this. This is probably one of the worst things I've seen on across the board is people do this type of holding, right? What you want to do is you want the pad to mimic the body portion, right? If he does a kick on my body, you will notice that he's kicking towards me. He's not kicking up like that. So you should never hold the pad this way. So instead, you want the pad to go up like this. You notice I'm using my body to create posture. You're going to form like a triangle. So you see how the two pads on the side is kind of touching my hips? The third triangle right here is going to connect together. Then from here, I'm going to lift the pad straight up and turn into a direction, just like that. And as a kick, I'm actually putting my body weight into it. I don't want to do this. Don't pat it down. Because if I miss the pad, bonk, the shot's going to come towards my head. So instead, I'm going to go like this, just like that. It doesn't matter if you do a left kick or right kick. I'm putting my body weight into the kick. So whenever he kicks, I lean into it, just like that. So that's how you hold a tap pad. Now I want to talk about to increase the power on your kick, okay? Now, Muay Thai it's not like other martial arts where you just kind of kick and chamber in the air. What you want is you want to keep every motion nice and steady. Relax your hip and be able to snap that leg in the very last second. You're going to see a lot of people when they kick in Thai, they'll do this. Round kick and then come back. What you really want is you want to limit the motion of the kick. So imagine my leg's it's not coming out like that. It's actually coming up this way. And the very last second, it's going to rotate like this. So the motion of a leg stays very narrow instead of very wide, okay? So if I kick my partner like this is easily to be blocked or pivot, right? So instead, I'm going to just travel through like a knee, and the very last second, turn and rotate, okay? You want to think about three things when you kick. Lift, pivot, project, okay? Most people do the two things, which is you lift and pivot off the front leg, but they don't project. So let's break it down step by step. So what I have my partner do first is be able to create a nice posture. Your palm is always going to point forward. You're steady on your stance. You're always going to make sure you stay on the tip of your toes. Number two, your hands are going to point forward with the elbows staying on the side of your body, just like that. The first step doing the kick is to step off the line and your hands not go across your eyes, just like that. This is going to be the first step. This hand can protect on the lower part of your chin. I prefer a little higher, just like that. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to throw this hip forward. At the same time, the hand blocks the center. You can throw your shoulder in, but I prefer the hands blocks the center. All that same time, he's going to go through with the right kick, just like that. You know, she's not kicking me, so he's going to pull the leg back a little bit. So watch. Step one, he's going to step through. The hand goes across, just like that. Number two, as he blocks this hand to the center, he's going to kick my thigh, just like that. Now, why is this important? Because the counter to a right kick is actually stepping over and then to an overhand. So when he blocks the center like that, see, he's protected on the center. You can, however, in some system, they'll throw the hand behind the hip, just like that. But the downside is you may lose the control on the center. So instead, I like to teach with the hands blocking the center. And you always want to make sure when you make the contact point into the lower part of your shin, not your toes, okay? Because if you kick really hard with your toe, you might break it. Okay, so be very careful with that. In Muay Thai, you always aim for your shin into the muscle part. Okay. Now I'm gonna put this into tap pad drills. Okay, so same thing when I hold the pads, I want to keep everything nice and tight to my body. We're gonna do coupled ways. Okay, and we're gonna experiment this. So the first way is I want my partner to kick straight up. So ready? Go straight up. Now kick as hard as you want. How does that feel? It's gonna feel awkward for us, okay? So what you want is keep this really tight to the body. So when he kicks, let's do this. Let's just kind of focus on first two things. He's gonna lift and pivot without changing the direction. So all he does, watch his support leg. He's gonna do a nice lift and pivot, and kick. You notice how the body's gonna give a motion. Your hip's gonna travel straight through into the center. So do it again, go. Just like that. Now we're gonna start to speed up, just like that. Now go. Just like that. Again, go. Now take that into consideration. I'm gonna tweak a few things. So now I'm gonna tell my partner, okay, your hip is only allowed to snap the second before you make the impact. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is I want the knee to relax just a little bit more. Okay, so ready? We're gonna snap the hip in the very last second and then relax the knee. Ready? Go. Yeah, see that power start to change? You'll notice the speed change as well. Go. Yes. And that's the first you will notice on Muay Thai is all those kicks are freaking fast. All right, so go. Just like that, okay? Now there's a lot of power comes to me, but it's not enough to penetrate. So we're gonna think about this. You ever see like a lot of Muay Thai people do a lot of step off the line? So there's a code we call rotation, a limitation to rotation. Imagine that I'm holding a baseball bat, right? I'm trying to hit a home run. When the ball comes in the area, it's gonna be generally around here. So when I hit, that's the maximum power of impact. Afterwards, it starts to decrease, right? So this we'll call acceleration, and about right there is my maximum impact. After the maximum impact, everything goes off the line, it starts to decrease in speed. Same thing with the kick. Let's say that Mike's gonna kick me right here. About right over here, that's a maximum power. Any point beyond this, it starts to decrease. So we have to define where is the impact point. So if I kick Mike about right there, that's my maximum power. Anything beyond it, it starts to decrease. So I have to understand, if I stand straight, toe to toe with my partner, if I kick him right here, this is about 90 degrees away from my kicking. Right about here is my maximum power, about 45 degrees, right? So I really want to kick, it's right here. We're technically offset because now when I throw that kick, I'm a lot more powerful. Not here, because if I kick him at 90 degrees or 100 degrees, I have to pivot a lot more. That's why a lot of people do it this way, right? Because now I can shift my maximum impact at the angle, right? So what I want is I want my partner to step off the line just a little bit. Now watch. Now his hip is pointing directly to my center. What you see now is when he kick, watch the angle of the kick. Right there, it's about 45, right? So again, step off and kick, boom. And the third thing we're gonna keep in mind is, think about this. When we start to sprint, what do you do when you sprint? You gotta use all your weight to push off your toe, right? So it's almost like the starting to accelerate, right? Into the acceleration, you have to push it off. So when you push it off, it takes off like a projection. Your projection can lead off by your head. It can also lead off by your hip or lead off by your projectile, such as your hand or your toes, right? So what I want is, we're gonna do this. You're gonna leap into me like that, using your, sprint, go. Just like that, again. Only allow yourself to use the lead foot, go. And push off as fast as you can. Good, now we're gonna change the angle, 45, go. Just like that. And when we push off, like you sprint, go. Step off, yes, do it again. We're gonna step it off, push it off. Just like that. Now, we're gonna take the same concept, okay? So we talk about rotation and pivots, right? First is the rotation and pivot, go. Now same thing. Relax your knee and then project your hip, go. Yes, so that creates a speed. We're gonna add the impact. So now push it off. This foot is gonna be very important. Not only you lift and pivot, now you gotta push it off and create power. Yes. Now same thing, relax the hip a little bit more, go. Yes. You'll notice that the speed and power is increasing, right? So do it again, go.
So one thing I forgot to mention during the filming is that if you notice what Mike is doing during his kick, he is actually leaning slightly backwards with the opposite shoulder on the kick. So what that does is it creates a counterbalance to the kick, so that kind of helps his body stay in balance. Otherwise, if he kick with the body straight up, he's more likely to lose the balance. So just to make sure that when you kick, please make sure to counterbalance your projection.
Yes, and that's the type of power I do not want to take with my body. Easily, that can break bones. So we're going to do it again. Yes. Again, go. One more time, go. Just like that. Okay, we're going to change angle so you can see the difference in angle. So one more time, go. Good. Now in slow-mo, watch. He's going to move his foot just off the side. Number 2, his knees going to come straight into his center and then pivot in the very last second. And as soon as it makes an impact, he goes boom, he's off the line. You should never kick and land in front of me because this is going to be inside my punching range or maybe my clinching range. That's the first thing you don't want in Muay Thai is you run to someone's elbow when you run to someone's clinching range, okay? You always want to kick, exit out because that gives you more room and space to counterattack, okay? So, to refresh this, you should never kick with your foot going up. Instead, you're going to give a nice rotation with the knee points forward. And you're going to almost think about a spiral energy where my hip is rotating like this, right? So my knee travels through, and the very last second, I just lift and rotate and making an impact on the lower part of the shin. And the last part is you have to create a projection. And the projection comes through the push off. You'll notice that he's activating all his entire leg and muscle to create that motion. And the muscle once you have activate all the mechanics, the next portion is throwing the hip into the kick, right? And that's how you throw your body into this power. So one more time, we're gonna move around. He's gonna toss the leg, just like that. One more time. You notice when I catch a kick, I'm using my body. Even with the body, there's a lot of impact. So take your time. You have to develop your speed and power one by one. So don't teach beginner to take a full impact with the same technique. Because imagine that I'm the first time trying a Muay Thai class, and this guy's been doing it for 4 or 5 months. If I take the kick like that, boom, you'll never see me in the class again. So always teach the level according to what they can handle. But don't overfeed them information sometimes because it overloads, right? So keep in mind that we all make mistakes. And as instructor to ourselves, it's always keep in mind that we want to get better over time. So let's recap. Number 1, your hands always protect the center. Number 2, your leg wants to travel into a very narrow motion versus a wider motion like this, right? And the third thing is you don't want to just lift and pivot. Lift and pivot in a stationized motion is not going to help you with the power. So what you want is you want to think about impacting through. Almost think about I'm cutting through with a baseball bat like that. You see my leg? My leg's like a baseball bat, and I want to cut through his body. But I don't want to just hit his body and bounce back. Instead, I want to stab through and cut right through, okay? So leg is going to travel, but you're going to stay relaxed. At the same time, your leg never bends. That's another thing I see a lot of mistakes people make. They say, oh, go like this. No drop, right? You want to keep this nice and straight, boom. And once you make the impact, retract, okay? So, number 1, you step over, just like that. We're going to move around. Go. Good. Go. Go. You notice after every single time he's doing this, he's breathing out. And that's probably why when you see a lot of Muay Thai trainer with a fighter doing the kick, they're yelling out like, oi, yeah, oi, oi. Or sometimes it'll sound like a tiger. Hey, go. Yeah, that's my favorite one. Go. Hey, just like that. Not only helps you mentally, but also help your physical level as well. So try them out. Instead of just holding your breath and kick, breathe out, right? Because it does have to do with your proper mechanics when you breathe out, okay? So I hope you guys liked the video today, and I summarized a lot of different things. If you guys have any questions, please leave any comments below, and I'll look forward to see you guys next week.